Like, they're accusing me of smearing this woman that I, I looked up to for most of my life. It was just, I did feel the need to defend myself.
Hi and welcome to Close and Talk. I'm Kjersti Flaa, and here on my channel I talk about my good and bad experiences with Hollywood and with celebrities. And lately it's been a lot of Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni drama. And today I have a very special guest with me who has also had a similar experience as I have by being dragged into Blake Lively's lawsuits. I will talk to her a little bit later, so please stay tuned. Then I wanted to say thank you to everyone who subscribed to my channel. I really appreciate it. And I've tried to read all the comments. There's a lot. And it's interesting to see now kind of how things have shifted a little bit since we saw Justin Baldoni filing a lawsuit against the New York Times. And as you know, I was mentioned in that lawsuit, and that was pretty traumatizing for me. And I've been talking a lot about that here on my channel, how it made me feel and how wrong it all is. And that's why I also think it's very important for me to, or for everyone to hear the story from Nikki and how she got involved and how she also feels like she's being a pawn in this game. Before I talk to her, I just wanted to mention that there's been some stories about me lately that I actually really appreciate. There was a great story, a really nice interview done by a reporter in The Hollywood Reporter. It was a top story for a long time and it was amazing. And thank you to Magnus who took a great picture of me out here on my terrace. If you're interested in reading that article, I will post a link below. I'm sorry my voice is a little weird. I have a cold, so I'm trying to pretend I don't, but I hear that it sounds a little... I also did an interview with the Hollywood newsletter, The Anchor, which turned out really great. So I'm so grateful for all these outlets that are reaching out to me to hear my side of the story. So I get it out there so people don't have to accuse me of doing something I didn't do. The Wall Street Journal contacted me a few days ago asking me to fact check some things with me. They actually said in an email, which I really appreciated. They said that we are committed to telling a fair and accurate version of events and want to reach out to see if you have any comments or contacts you'd like to share. Bravo, thank you so much. Unlike the New York Times, some journalists are doing their due diligence. Before we get into my interview with Nikki, I just wanted to share my new obsession with you, Scentbird. It's a fragrance subscription that allows you to test different fragrances every single month. Since I'm traveling a lot for work, I always buy my fragrances or perfumes at the tax-free store. And you're walking around, I'm sure you've done it, and you try on all these different fragrances and they all like melt together in the end. And you're like, can't make up your mind, and your flight is leaving and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go for this. Even though it's tax-free, you end up paying a lot, which is really unnecessary. And that's where Scentbird comes in, because Scentbird has created the subscription plan that allows you to have access to over 700 different fragrances. And the best part, it's so affordable. So your first month is only $8, and then the next month is $16.95. And then you get this beautiful little thing in the mail that you can easily just open up like this. This is the fragrance. And then when you finish this, you might want to try something else. And then you get another bottle. And if you don't really know what you like, Scentbird will help you. So you can do this quiz on their website. One of my favorite is this one. It's called Palazzo Mobile Blooming Ballet. The notes are rose, freesia, and white musk. This is another one of my favorites. It's called Memoir Candy Shop, with notes of sugar peaches, watermelon, and vanilla. I also love the size because, of course, it's very easy to put in your bag. So if you scan this QR code or use my code Kjersti, Kjersti, which is my name, you can get 55% off your first month with Scentbird. Scan this QR code or use Kjersti, Kjersti, and get 55% off your first month of Scentbird. Hi, Nikki. Thank you so much for doing this. I mean, I was so shocked when I found you on TikTok the other day and I realized that we have one thing in common. We are both in Blake Lively's lawsuit. What was your reaction when, and how did you discover that you were mentioned in the lawsuit?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me too. What an odd thing to have in common. I actually woke up to a bunch of phone calls from different news outlets, and I was extremely confused because while I do post on TikTok, I had nothing going viral at the moment. And I opened my TikTok and had a ton of comments of people accusing me of being paid to slander her and being a woman hater. And I was just extremely confused. and blindsided. It,
Wow.
yeah.
And what did these news outlet, did they ask you, were you involved? Were you paid? Were these the kind of questions you got?
Yeah, absolutely. They were asking me how I was connected to him and yeah, if I was paid to talk about Blake, which is funny because I really didn't say much negative about her. So I don't know what I would have been paid for. Um,
So crazy.
so yeah, a lot of just asking for comments.
So, can you talk a little bit about what was in the original video that because they put a link in the lawsuit
Hmm.
that was linked to your TikTok video. So, what exactly was in the video?
Yeah, so it had been about 2 months after the premiere that I went to, and I was talking about my experience with Justin. He was at the premiere that I went to. I know there were two separate premieres. Ours was in my hometown in Illinois, a very small hometown. We had a room of about under 50 women at the movie, and I just had such a great experience with him. And I really wanted to share what he brought to the premiere and how obviously hard he worked to make it a safe space physically and how hard he worked on the film. So I mentioned that in my video. I included a little clip of him speaking. He was talking about, he'll never know what it feels like to have to carry pepper spray to walk to your car or, what it feels like to be a woman, and shared the tools that he used to make this film as authentic as possible. And I also shared how I felt about Blake at the time with what I knew. Um, I shared that it was just weird that she hadn't mentioned domestic violence in her interviews. Now, that was before anything came out. I don't know what to be true, obviously, but they mentioned the TikTok, 8 months after it happened. So it just made me look bad.
But uh, so when you posted that video, was there already a little backlash on Blake Lively
There,
at this point?
there hadn't been too much. I, what I saw on the internet, I mean, there was a little bit about the movie, but mostly what I saw was, I mean, including your interview, which is obviously resurfaced. It was mostly, bad press on her that had nothing to do with the movie. And it just kind of got tied into it. There wasn't a ton about her not talking about domestic violence. I saw a little here and a little there, but on social media, the only thing I saw about her at the time was her new hair care brand.
And you said you didn't have more than like 30,000 views on that video. So it wasn't like a viral sensation or anything, because a lot of people did similar
Yeah.
videos on TikTok and reactions. What do you think they picked yours?
The only reason it has views now is because it was in the lawsuit. I know that in a group chat that Justin had with his team, it was sent. I presume that there were a lot of videos that were sent in that group chat. I am not sure why mine was chosen. I think it's odd considering my username is so unserious to
What is your
include.
username?
It's thick Jewish girl.
Yeah.
And I think with such a serious matter, it's not appropriate to use a video like that. I mean, there are so many videos of people actually bashing her
Yeah.
that, and what I noticed is that neither of us have really spoken out, like put any hate on Blake Lively. So it's just odd that she would choose us two to include in the lawsuit.
I feel like when I saw your video, I think you mentioned that your mom's friend is a part
Mm-hmm.
owner in Wafer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that might be the reason? Because then they're like, oh, there's a link here. Do you think that might be a reason why?
Yeah, I mean, and I said friend in that they are acquaintances. He opened a movie theater in my hometown, um, and he just, for fun. And he happens to also be one of the owners of Wayfair. And So when I found out that the premiere was going, I begged when I found out the premiere was happening, I begged for tickets. I mean, I watched Jane the Virgin growing up. I loved it. I also read the book and was a huge fan. So I went to the premiere, and it was a last second thing. So there was no connection between him and I. We actually were probably asked not to have cameras out, and that's why I thought I was going to get in trouble for recording something I shouldn't have. Maybe that was, I don't think so, because I don't even think they knew.
No, and then you spoke to him shortly, I think. At least
Mm-hmm.
you have a little photo with him on your Instagram that you took a picture. What was the interaction with him like?
Yeah, so he came into the movie theater after we were done watching, and there was a Q&A session. And he talked about really the work that he put into this movie. I think it's been since 2018, 2019. He talked about how he actually joined groups of the abusers and to get a more authentic take on someone who would be in Ryle, his character situation. He talked about how he teamed up with a group of women who work for an organization for women who've experienced domestic violence to get that authentic take. He also brought them to that premiere. He flew them out,
Wow, he
and
did?
yeah.
Oh.
And he really, he talked about how he didn't use one movie set, and everything was authentic, everything was real life. And I was really impressed by everything that he had to say at the time. And afterwards, a couple of people wanted pictures. My mom, who we hadn't met, we didn't meet him before the movie. He was there, but I didn't want to bother him. And my mom was like, go get a picture, go get a picture. I was like, no, no, I don't want to bother him. And he heard me. He's like, come take a picture with me.
Oh, that's nice.
Um, yeah. And I said to him, as somebody who is a huge fan of the book, you really took the image I had in my head and you put it on the screen. And he was so appreciative. And I could tell that he took to heart what I said. He was so kind, and I had a wonderful experience with him.
So what was the experience for you like? Like you said, people reacted to you on TikTok and
Mm-hmm.
started asking you questions, and also you receiving hate. What kind of trolls or comments did you get from being in that lawsuit?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I do want to say, I believe when women come out about something like this, I believe them until it's proven otherwise. That's just something in my values. And at first, I was extremely disappointed, but I had a feeling in the back of my head, this isn't over. He's he's going to come back with something, because, I believed her. I continue to believe her until other things are proven otherwise. But I just,
Now
I,
we've seen some receipts.
I've seen some
Yeah,
receipts,
yeah.
and I'm waiting for the rest of them to, sorry, my dog.
I think also, one of the things that I've been thinking of, I feel like sometimes like Blake Lively can feel that she was sexually harassed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she wasn't in the terms of what people think is sexual harassment, but her feelings are legit. But I think, like when I started reading through his lawsuit, for me it was like, okay, there's a lot of things that don't add up to what she said. And I think now that you and I know that we were mentioned in that lawsuit as part of an alleged smear campaign, I start thinking, was there really a smear campaign? What do you think?
I I can't say yes or no, but I can say that as somebody who was accused of being part of it, but I wasn't. They didn't even he didn't even like the post. He didn't like my Instagram post. Like I was not a part of it, and I was one of few people who were accused. So in my opinion, I do not believe there was a smear campaign. I think a lot of her old content started coming out. So I don't know how that would smear her. Um, but then again, we'll
Yeah.
find out.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you earlier. You were talking about
You're good.
the reactions that you got from people on TikTok. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I saw someone was like, "Oh, you're Jewish, he's Jewish," and
Yeah.
really like mean things that people were saying to you.
Yeah, I got a lot of comments. I think he's like half Jewish or something. I know he goes by the Baha'i faith, and I got a lot of comments saying, "Oh, you're Jewish. He's some part Jewish. There's some connection here, and you were obviously paid." The whole Jews run Hollywood comment, and a lot of them. And that is just such a far stretch. It it amazes me what people can come up with. Um,
And I mean, it's hard to get, like, I felt, when people are accusing you of something you haven't done, you feel like you have to come out and defend yourself. What was that like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I was really contemplating whether I wanted to defend myself or not. Half of me is saying, let them think what they want to think. And half of me is thinking, I now have this presence on social media and I can either do good with it or bad with it. And if I have all these people thinking that I smeared a woman who also I looked up to my whole life. I watched the Gossip Girl Thanksgiving episodes every Thanksgiving. Like they're accusing me of smearing this woman that I, I looked up to for most of my life. It was just, I did feel the need to defend myself because I do want to do good on social media. I do want to add positivity into this world. And that wasn't a way to start.
No, I've been seeing a lot of people making up like all this misinformation about this too, which I think is really scary to see. And I think part of that also is that there's misinformation in the lawsuit. There was misinformation in the New York Times. What is your take on that? Like how people are spinning these things. I'm sure you've seen a lot of it on TikTok as well, that people make up their own theories about everything.
Yeah. Everybody has, it's scary because so many people are using their opinions in these documentation. I mean, the New York Times used to be a source that we would go to for facts. And
Mm.
now they posted something that has been, I think within under a month, has been proven completely false. And it's really scary that these news outlets aren't asking for proof anymore. So even if it's not this certain situation, it's scary that we and I fell victim to it. I believed everything she said. I was like, who
Mm.
is this man that I met? That's not the man that I met. And come to find out, he has proof that it's the complete opposite. So I think it's really scary that everybody's victim to falling for these conspiracy theories, and I'm one of them.
Yeah. No, I mean, when I also read the lawsuit, I was like, wow, this is really disturbing. And then you read his side of it. I think it's going to be interesting when we see his side of the lawsuit. He's going to file against Blake Lively, where we might see all the text messages.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I've said on my channel, that they have thousands of pages of emails and text messages. So they
Mm-hmm.
know that you and I are not involved and we
Yeah.
have not been paid. So they knew that and still they put it in there. And that's what I find really, really troubling.
Yeah, I also find it interesting that they didn't expect us to say anything.
Yeah,
While I might not be a Hollywood star, I'm still a human and I care about what people think of me.
of course.
So I'm not gonna sit back, and maybe they should have done a little bit more research on who they were mentioning before posting.
That's a good last message. Like, do a little more due diligence, especially when you're suing someone and making it so public and you're tearing down people like you and me. We're like nobodies here. We are just a little guy who can't really come out and defend ourselves with expensive lawyers. We only have our voice.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
I wouldn't say you're a nobody. I've seen your interviews. You've done some wonderful interviews,
Oh,
and
thank you.
I also think that the interview that you did with Blake Lively really opened people's eyes up. You did nothing in that interview to deserve what had happened to you. I don't know what I would have done. Um, but she did what she did, and that's what people are seeing.
That's what I'm thinking too, that and people are asking me a lot, like, why did you post that interview at that specific time? And there's not really any like major reason for it. And I feel like I have to explain myself for showing someone that was basically had a mean girl behavior towards me, and I am the one who have to explain myself. I think that's really, it's weird. But I think people want to spin these things in so it fits their narrative because they don't want to think badly of a celebrity that they adore or love. And she has fans out there. And yeah, I just hope that the truth will come out for everyone so we can
Mhm.
relax and move on and, you know, have maybe a bit more healthy relationship to celebrities. Do you think our relationships to celebrities are changing a little bit, by the way?
I do. I think that there's a lot of very authentic celebrities out there. I look up to Selena Gomez and I just see how authentic she is. And I believe that there are some influencers out there who really are sharing their true authentic selves. And I think those are the people who are going to come out on top. I hope to see more celebrities come out and really just be more authentic, be more relatable. None of us can relate to Blake Lively. I believe she is gorgeous, beautiful in every way, and she knows it. She's successful, but I don't know anything about her. I'm just looking for a more authentic presence in Hollywood. I think that would be life changing for people like me who are just from a small town, watching the news, unfortunately, reading Daily Mail, and just want to see somebody who has the same feelings as us and doesn't just put words out there and not think about the repercussions of other people's feelings.
Oh, well said. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing. And thank you so much for coming on here and talking about this. I really appreciate it. And I think people really appreciate, you know, hearing your story as well, even though they've seen you on TikTok. So tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on TikTok and as thick Jewish girl and in a little more normal tone on Instagram as Nikki Lieberman with two N's at the end.
Yes. And there they can find a picture of you and Justin Baldoni as well. So
Absolutely.
show Nikki some love, everyone.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being on. And yeah, good luck with everything. We need to stay in touch to keep
Yeah, thank
each
you
other
for having me.
updated. Thank you. Before you go, just a reminder to check out Scentbird to get 55% off your first month by either using this QR code or using my name as a code, Kjersti, Kjersti, link in description and in the comments. And I'll see you in my next video. I hope you enjoyed this one and take care of each other, be nice to each other, be polite. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.